Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm Derek Lemaster.
This is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and we change the name of the show to James Wan's Screen Bloody Movies. How are you guys doing this week?
Oh, doing good. It's been a long week for me.
Bet.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Yep.
We had a successful couple of days of shooting, so.
We did. We started shooting the new short. We have another day left. Got a lot done, but it was really fun. Ran into some problems that we had to solve. That's all part of guerrilla filmmaking, right, Derek?
I thought you were going to say it's all part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan.
Which is a contradiction.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't look like a schemer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's what he said. He does have plans, though. He's just lying.
Does.
He's just lying. That Joker.
He's joking around.
Love that Joker. You have to say it like this. Love that Joker. With that creepy smile all the time. With skin so real, only your Undertaker can tell the difference.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're doing James Wan's Insidious 2. We'll get to that here in a minute. But first, let's start this episode like we do every week and go into the horror news. We don't have an awful lot. It's kind of a slow week because it's building up to the few things that are happening. By the time this airs, Halloween Ends will be a week away from premiering. By the time this airs, Hocus Pocus 2 will have already premiered. And another movie will have premiered, which we will talk about at the end of the episode. So stay tuned. Keep you on pins and needles. So here's the horror news that we got, though. Let's start with this. We got some casting for The Nun 2. It looks like Storm Reed from HBO's Euphoria will be starring in The Nun 2. For refresher's sake, the plot is 1956 France, a priest is murdered, and evil is spreading. The sequel to the worldwide smash hit The Nun follows Sister Irene as she once again comes face to face with the demonic force, Valak, the demon nun. Sorry, the reason I yell those words is because those are in all caps. So I want to enunciate properly. What do you guys think of that plot synopsis? Are you still not interested in this? Are you kind of interested in it?
I'm kind of interested. I'm really interested. I love the character of the nun. I just wasn't so impressed with the movie, The Nun. So it kind of makes me nervous because I want it to be really great. I want it to be so scary. So yeah, I'm still kind of like on the fence about it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. How about you, Derek?
I'm like 37% interested. You know, I just because it wasn't a super great movie, I kind of wish they would have just left. Maybe this will change my mind, but I wish they would have just left the nun alone because she was scary as fuck.
And she was very scary.
The Conjuring too.
You're absolutely right. But they couldn't leave it alone. It was too big of a hit, you know.
Dude, that painting, man, still haunts my dreams.
That painting is terrifying. That scene is scarier than all of the Nun movie. Just that one scene.
For sure.
Literally.
Yeah. We'll get into the Nun. We'll review the Nun at some point. But
we're going to have to.
Yeah, we have to get through the whole Conjuring universe. I mean, there's like only 47 of them now. So we have to go through all the Annabelles and the nuns and the La Lloronas.
I can confidently say this. If I were Lorraine and my husband painted that nun picture, I would have divorced him
Wow. I thought about trying to make a replica,
But like,
but
that's
then
it.
I was like, then I would have it in my
We're done.
house, and then I would be scared.
And you know,
I'd
if you
never go in the
did,
room.
if you
I'd
did,
probably
Derek
move.
would divorce you. He just said,
Yeah. Lydia, you'd be out of this podcast.
"You're done.
Oh,
We're no
shoot.
longer friends. We're divorced as friends." You painted the nun. All right, guys, we have a little bit of Final Destination 6 news. So Freaks filmmakers directing the new installment for HBO Max. So it is being released exclusively to HBO Max. John Watts, from the Spider-Man Marvel movies, the director of those movies, is on board as producer. And we have Laurie Evans Taylor and Guy Busick writing it. And today we found out that Zach Lipkowski and Adam Stein, who directed the movie Freaks, are directing the movie with the plot that's under wraps. So we know that movie's now moving forward. We have filmmakers attached. I've not seen Freaks, so I don't know anything about the filmmakers. I know John Watts, and I like most of his stuff. What are your guys' thoughts? Are you excited about a new Final Destination movie? Like, are you interested in going back to this world?
What's the name of the title of this new one?
Just Final Destination 6 at this point.
Because wasn't the last one called The Final Destination?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have to say about this.
Okay.
I
What do you think,
like
Lydia?
it. I think I've enjoyed just about every single one of them. Some better than others, but I think
Yeah.
it's kind of like Million Ways to Die kind of thing, where it's like, as long as they're coming up with like creative, fun ways, but also you have to have a really good story, because sometimes the story is what kills the movie,
The secret is you have to have characters that you care about.
Right, yeah.
That's really the secret, because the first Final Destination, we haven't reviewed any of them. We'll get to them at some point. But the original Final Destination works because it was a novel concept, is well directed, and it had characters that you really liked and you really cared about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The second one had characters that you cared about too, because it had hangovers from the first, and it had some good new characters. Plus, it had that kick-ass opening scene.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing about the second one. Here's how you know you've made a really good movie. That anytime you see a truck carrying any type of like large lumber, you're just like, I've seen this in a movie, I'm pulling over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
You're like, get
you
me
always
away
make
from
sure
that.
that your water bottles are put. You're like, nope, don't want my water bottles falling and stopping my brakes.
Yeah, ironically,
Yeah.
this movie was referenced today during our shoot because there was a giant truck carrying lumber, and I'm not going to lie to you. When it passed us, I was just like, please don't break. Please don't break.
I thought of Pet Cemetery when I saw it, because we were near the road. I was like, please don't gauge us. Please don't gauge us.
Just all of the above when you see a truck like
All
that.
of it.
It's just scary.
All of it.
Yeah, I guess that is a casualty of our, our current line of, I would say employment. That's not actually technically correct.
Yes.
Our
But
hobby.
yeah. Yes. So I'm interested like you, Lydia, because as long as they come up with interesting ways, because even the worst ones, there's some of them that I don't care for the plot and the story, and I think they're bad, but there's still some fun kills to be had. The one where it sucks the dude's butthole out of his body is just not the best.
Nobody wants
That's
that, but like
bottom of the
some
barrel.
people love that. Some people love that.
I think in the same
I
one
hated
you
it.
have the lady who gets trapped in the
tanning
tanning
bed.
bed.
Tanning bed.
Yeah.
Which, if you're claustrophobic and you have any imagination, yeah, that one's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Oh
that's
yeah,
pretty good.
that's
My all-time favorite, we'll get to it when we do them, but my all-time favorite death is when the sheet of glass crushes the boy.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
God,
a
that
good
is
one, yeah.
suspenseful as shit
Yeah,
when that
and it's
scene is
so
going down.
it's so cool because you're just like, he just got crushed by that glass. I remember frame by frame framing the DVD so I could see when they swapped out for the dummy. I'm like, where is it? There it is. Great stuff. It's seamless. Good stuff. So yeah, we'll have to review those soon. Derek, this is a little bit of
Yes.
news just for you. So first of all, did you guys know that they were doing a spin-off of Teen Wolf? Not the Michael J. Fox excellent one, but the MTV. Remember the MTV Teen
Oh,
Wolf show?
yeah.
I saw like the
Mhm.
first season.
They are spinning it off, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is in this. She is
Okay.
the show is called Wolfpack, and because they team up with Kevin Nash.
So he's the alpha.
Yeah, too sweet. God. Never turn your back on the wolf pack. Oh, yeah, that really got me. She's playing an arson investigator named Kristen Ramsey, a highly regarded expert in her field and no stranger to personal loss, who was brought in by authorities to catch the teenage arsonist who started a massive wildfire, which may have also led to the reawakening of a supernatural predator terrorizing Los Angeles. So,
Okay.
You had me at Geller.
I knew I did.
Yep, me
The
too.
love of my life. No, I'm kidding.
She's one of them. She's one of your biggest crushes.
She was, man, hardcore crush back in the day.
She's amazing.
She is awesome. I mean, she's a very.
Mhm.
I have always enjoyed most of her stuff. So,
You're a big Buffy fan.
yeah, huge Buffy fan. I grew up on that stuff.
Yep. And The Grudge we'll get into sometime. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk about that one, The Return. I guess we'll talk about that at some point, probably
I mean,
too.
She drove a truck, a Dodge Ram, in that movie.
Which one, The Return?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
We went to the
Anyway.
movies and saw that, if you remember, Derek.
I do remember seeing it. I didn't know if it was in a
He
movie
remembers that was the moment he decided he needed a Dodge Ram.
I need one so I can impress Sarah Michelle Gellar.
theater. That's
Now
a
my
negative,
plan-
people.
My
I wanted
plan is
one way
complete.
before that. It was
Oh, you
before-
wanted to impress her way before that?
Well, yes, I did, but
Well, yes.
then she
You're like, if
married that
only I could be a
one
blonde
guy.
vampire or a brooding brunette vampire.
Either.
Either or.
or a strange, like blonde fella
Yeah.
from Scooby Doo. Anyway,
Oh, I mean, she married him for real.
yeah, I
So-
know that really breaks
Yeah.
my heart. Lucky bastard.
Damn him. Son of a bitch, Freddie Prinze
Guys,
Jr.
can we
Listen.
cover Scooby Doo on this podcast?
Here's what I got to say about Freddie
If
Prinze
you-
Does that
Jr.
count?
The
He's
original
not all
series,
that.
yes, he's not all that.
And then our final bit of news. This is actually big news, guys. It has been announced that Cloverfield 2 is officially in the works with Babak and Vari directing. What are your guys' thoughts on a Cloverfield 2?
Cloverfield 2.
Didn't they already
Okay.
make a Cloverfield too?
No, they made a movie set in a similar
Cloverfield
universe.
Lane,
Mm-hmm. Which is great. We'll get into that movie.
which is
Well, and then they
so
made,
good.
It is very good, and you don't even know
Mm-mm.
that it's a
No.
Cloverfield movie until the
We'll get
end
into
of it.
that.
Yes.
We'll get into that movie.
Oh.
We'll get into that movie sometime soon. That's a really good one.
But then they
But-
came out with just to make sure I'm on the right page. Like, didn't they come out with a movie that was set in space?
It's called the Cloverfield Paradox.
Oh yeah,
Correct.
Yes.
I saw that.
These are in the
I forgot
loosely
about that.
connected universes, but this
Because
is a
that was
direct.
the start of everything.
This is a direct
Cloverfield
sequel.
2.
This is a direct sequel to the first Cloverfield.
Okay.
We don't know anymore. We don't know if it's going to be a straight sequel to the original or an anthology piece that is set in the Cloverfield universe. And we also don't know if it's going to be found footage or not. But, I mean,
I hope
what do you
not.
guys think?
I hope it's
Another
not found footage.
I do too. I feel
That's
like
what I
that was
think.
so
That's it.
last decade.
It was definitely a
I-
early 2000s thing, wasn't it?
I actually like found footage. Sometimes, like most of the time, I do. Like for
done
some
well.
reason, I just do.
We've done one. Yeah.
Have we?
I've seen some pretty
Yeah,
terrible
The
ones.
Visit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We did The Visit,
Yeah.
and it's pretty good. A lot of found footage movies are just not great, unfortunately.
I just always
because
like them for some reason.
I think the problem is, for me, is it's when you're watching a movie, it's easy to suspend disbelief because you get sucked into the world. When it's a found footage movie, what happens with me, and this is my own hang up, I'm like, I into that world of where they're facing the camera at all times, and I'm like, why don't you put the camera down? Why don't you just run? You know,
Why don't you do
why do you
something
have to
else?
frame
Yeah.
the shot?
Yes, definitely. I think for me, I might say that I've liked every found footage movie I've ever seen, except Cloverfield. So that's the one that I'm like, why is this
Dude.
found footage? Why is this? I mean, but I haven't seen it in a really long time, so I might have a totally different take now.
Cloverfield, when it came out, so before it came out, the marketing campaign. Do you guys remember the marketing campaign for Cloverfield?
Mhm.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the trailer. We went to the movies to see something, me, Dad, and the boys. And the trailer for Cloverfield was there. And all we saw was that scene where the Statue of Liberty's head's ripped off and goes down, and we hear this thing,
Yes.
and we're like, and it just gives you the title, doesn't tell you, or the date doesn't tell you the title. So I remember
Yeah.
being on the internet, early internet, and just going down the rabbit hole of conspiracies, what this movie could be. What does it mean? It leads you to this website that you could unlock clues. It's brilliant viral campaign. I was like, is this a fucking secret Godzilla movie? Because I am down. And then it was not. But luckily, we got the Godzilla movies later. So,
Right. Luckily.
I'm interested. And that wraps up horror news. We didn't have a lot this week, guys. Not a lot going on yet. We're ramping up to the Halloween season. So next week, we'll have a lot to talk about. But in the meantime, guys, last week we did James Wan and Lee Whannell's Insidious. This week, we are going to do James Wan and Lee Whannell's Insidious Chapter 2.
I couldn't stop my eyebrows right there. They just kept like, you can't even see
Every
them because
time.
my bangs, but they were going crazy.
So, guys, let's talk about our experiences with Insidious 2. Let's start with you, Derek, since you picked this one. This isn't your first time watching this.
It's not my first time watching it, and I'm trying to remember. So I don't know that I saw Insidious in theaters, and I think as soon as I saw this movie, the other one had already come out, and so I was like, well, then I got to watch the other one because the previous one has a great cliffhanger, and so that's the reason why I picked this, because I wanted to know what happened right now. I'm very impatient. But I remember watching it and was very impressed with it, and so it didn't disappoint this time either.
Lydia, what's your experience with Insidious Chapter 2?
Yep, it came out and I went and saw it and I loved it. So, that's
it. Yeah, that's kind of my experience too. I had saw the first one, really, really liked it. So I went and saw the second one, of course, and liked it a lot too. And then I rented it when it came out on Blu-ray to see it again, and that's when I realized that I really liked it. Like I was like, no, I actually, because the first time I watched it, I liked it, but then I watched it that second time, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in on this one. And then sporadically through the years, I'll just put it on. It's one that I own, and then it's on Netflix now, so that's what I watch it on. But I own it, so I watch it every now and then. So, where do you guys want to start with Insidious Chapter 2?
I feel like we got to start at the beginning.
At the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can skip most of the characters because we've already
yes,
talked about
they're all
them.
the same. Yes. So here's what's cool about the beginning of Insidious. What do you guys like the cold open of this movie?
Yes.
I did. Yeah.
So I do too.
It's good.
But here's what's interesting about it is it's a cold open with barely any scares. It's just tension. And what's the word? Anticipation, because it's basically making you lean in like, okay, so what is all this about? What does all this mean? So it just sets up a mystery as opposed to just a big scare fest. There's like one or two scares in the opening. So it's really weird. We have a young actress playing Elise, and she is looped with Lin Shane's voice.
I didn't like that part.
It's kind of distracting. It's kind of
It
distracting.
is distracting. That's 100% correct. Go ahead, Lydia.
It's slightly distracting, but I really love it. And especially now that I've watched this movie like several times, I think they couldn't have done it any other way. They had to do it.
Yeah, I agree to an extent because you need it so that way, because Elise is already an adult, so she would sound like Elise. But the reason it's just distracting to me, I think, is because then I'm like looking for ADR mess ups.
And there aren't any.
And I'm just like, okay, so then I find myself as a filmmaker going, so she's actually on set reading these lines, and I wonder if he's like, your inflection's not good, because I wonder if he's just like, go ahead and just the action's all that matter, because I'm gonna dub you the fuck out, so it doesn't matter. But the cold open is really interesting because unlike the first one, which is a cold open of scares, it has that cold open and you get the bride and the terror. This one, we get a little bit of her in the closet. She's like, it's an entity. And then Josh does his whole, stand up and points and set, to the door, and the door opens. And then we're right into the thing again. But I really love the first shot of the movie proper. When we get that really cool push in, and Renee is sitting in the police station, and we are clear back, and we push in slowly. And so they're tiny, and we're in a void, and then we end up, in the room with them. I think that's awesome. What do you guys think?
It's so cool. It's so good.
It's James Wan being James motherfucking Wan. That's what it is.
Yeah. And it's not even like a scary, like paranormal scary. It's like the feeling of like being under stress and interrogation in a police station of like like this, like someone was just murdered at my house, at my home.
It's disorientation when we are far away and we push in. It's the disorientation of it. And it is scary. How do you guys feel about the way they handled the police aspect of this?
It was a little strange. So they have a picture, because Elise snapped a picture of her killer, right? I don't know that they ever showed the picture.
They don't in this one. They
You're
never
right.
did. They didn't in the other one either.
Yeah.
So we just don't
know.
The
only thing we get is she looked at it and was like, which
we're to assume that
she saw the bride.
The bride, right.
Yeah. And so immediately the husband is under suspicion, but then they clear him later.
They do. They
just over
him.
A phone call. They don't ever follow up with it.
Yeah, I think the resolve is not very good.
Yeah. No,
it's kind of, he does explain it. He's like, well, the forensic didn't match your husband, but it's just kind of, if you're not paying attention, it's kind of swept away. You know what I mean? It's literally, they had to include the police because somebody died and was murdered and there was marks on her neck. So they had to follow it up. But it's like, kind of just,
which And like the strange thing is, like, I spent a lot of time thinking about this aspect of this movie, and like the forensics that didn't add up was that the handprints didn't match her
'Cause it's
husband's
Park-
handprints. That's what he
yes.
says.
Because it's
But
Parker Crane's, yeah.
but Parker Crane was possessing Josh, so
Oh,
it
I
would have
have
been
read
Josh's
the
hands.
Yeah. It's
Like,
We're gonna have to-
and
supernatural.
it shows
Yeah.
because it shows her it shows Elise see Parker Crane's hands, and that's when she looks up and was like, I need to snap a picture. Right? But
Mhm.
that's because she saw his hands because she's psychic and can see shit like that, right?
Mhm.
So it would have been Josh's hands still, like it's Josh in this entire movie.
I guess, except for their explanation is that since he's possessing him, that the forensics won't match because the supernatural isms of it.
Yeah.
So I guess if they would have taken a DNA test, it probably wouldn't match because he's not Josh in spirit. I don't know.
Right. And I
It's
think
just
that's
one of
what,
those.
yeah, it's one of those things that, and it's like, because it's a good movie, that it doesn't matter, like, to like dive too deep into like, well, the forensics, well, the police would have had him in custody, or like you know, like
Yeah,
the picture,
it's really
or like
weird
whatever.
that they don't. It's really weird that they don't even like take him. Well, I mean, they could have taken him into custody too, because really we only see them interview Renee. They could have interviewed everybody in the house. We just don't see it.
Yeah.
But yes, it is weird that he's just like, you know, yeah, it's weird. She died. I don't know. I left the room and then she was dead. And they're like,
she
checks out.
yeah, it's so strange. That kind of aspect of this movie is the strange thing, but they're like, it's just not part of our story. That's not what we're trying to tell here. So we're like, okay, like we just go along with it. We just want to know.
We go along
like,
for the ride. Yeah, it's
what's
one of
your
those
story,
we go along for the ride.
Yeah, I love it.
There is a
I just
there's
love
a
that.
line. There is a line earlier when she's when Elise is talking in the
further
to Josh when she's talking to Josh at the very beginning.
Okay, young Josh.
Yeah, young Josh. There's a line where she says there's an evil malignant force, and I was like, oh, you don't know malignant yet.
Yeah,
You just wait. Gabriel has not ascended, but he will in Insidious 5. It's going to be a Gabriel and Lipstick Demon crossover, Derek.
In a post-apocalyptic
Absolutely.
world. That's exactly
Absolutely
what I thought when I heard the news.
Yeah. Perfect. So what's interesting about this movie, I'm going to say it up right now up the top, is Insidious 2 isn't as scary as Insidious, but I think the story is more fleshed out as far as we get to see more of this world.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, because I don't think that it has as many scares. And the things that we do get are like lighter. We don't get old fucking demon boy popping up at the baby crib, like, you know. That's a no-go for me. But we don't get that.
We just get like mom, ghost, and like little
when mom ghost happens, but that happens a little bit later. The first part of the movie is really subtle stuff, because the reason is they're being haunted by Josh. They're not being haunted by evil, except for the mom is there, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But the little things like the baby thing moving or the piano playing, those things are Josh trying to get Renee's attention. Yeah. So that's why they're not this malevolent, to say it, a force. You know, they're just it's him trying to get their attention. But you talked about the mom. Let's talk about her. What do you guys think of Parker's mom?
She's pretty dang scary.
Sadistic, bitch.
Yeah, she is very scary, I think.
She is very scary. Yeah. And I mean,
the actress does a phenomenal job.
She does a great job. And so like at first and I hadn't seen this movie in a while, and so like when I first started seeing her pop up, I just assumed it was another ghost, because right now there's only a ghost that is inhabiting Josh, right? So you could play on like, is that a permanent thing, or could this other ghost push out? Because it's not established. It's not established up front that that's his mom. And there's a point where he's talking to her, and their son overhears it. Dalton overhears it, and so like at that point, I was like, oh, he's telling this other spirit like, hey, get lost. This is my body. That's what I assumed until you find out that it is his mom, and she's trying to get him to kill for her. Little psycho.
Yeah, little psycho. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's one of the inspirations to this, and really heavily borrowed, of course, from Poltergeist. But the mom is very scary in quite a few scenes. The one scene where she pops up and is like, "How dare you!" and slaps Renee. Don't you dare!
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good jump scare.
Slaps her down. You know, the other thing where she like is yelling at somebody is when they're in young
Parker's
room.
Yeah.
And they're seeing this reenactment of what happened to him.
That's where I think she's so good. She's really good, that actress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she's just yelling at him and then she just stops. And then she looks over and you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah,
How
and then
freaky
she points,
is that?
And then she points and it like the light darkens on her.
Yeah.
And they fly out of the room. Dude.
Her makeup is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think the scariest part, it's so subtle, but I think honestly the scariest part is that when you see like her face up close, her teeth are bloody.
Yeah.
That is so nasty and freaky. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
How
she has
scary
the
is
bloody
that?
teeth.
Just so you know, guys, I'm gonna be running up the stairs after this. Anyway.
And I love the subtlety of like just the like underneath her eyes is just dark. And she has that like really militarized hairdo, it's like very regimented,
structured.
Yeah, and she's just like the way she's yelling, her veins are popping out on her head. She's like, "That's not your name." It's so good, so creepy.
Yeah, one of the things I love about this movie is like how they develop Parker's character, because they give you a lot of detail about his life and how he was brought up, and like this really goes into that nature versus nurture, argument, because he was kind of created.
Yeah,
like this monster that we find out is, and she even alludes to it in the dice, like the mother of death.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you one thing, man. If I saw a room full of bodies
corpses,
that look like corpses that look like they're at an altar.
Oh, that's so scary.
No,
that is disturbing.
No, I'm not walking in there. Especially like you just saw like a little girl upstairs, like you're already ghosts. Like one of those motherfuckers is gonna rise up and attack you,
dude. Also, that is a crime scene.
yes, it is. The goat when they get to Parker's house after the hospital scene, and Tucker and Specs are up there and they're investigating, and they see young Parker wearing the wig, so it's a little girl, and Parker tells them, "You need to leave or she's going to make me kill you." And they just go, "Yep." And they split.
They are like,
okay. Up. Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Funny.
That's like the one time in a scary movie where like someone does what you want them to do kind of
but
moment.
The way they do it, they're just like, okay. They're out. Derek, you're muted, by the way, buddy.
Mother. Anyway, that's a note for me, dog.
Yeah, so funny.
I love that whole scene too.
So good.
Both
the
hospital
horses.
Yeah. Both the hospital and their house are pretty cool. The timeline's interesting because it's like dark there, and it just you're kind of like, where the heck are we as far as date? The time of day. Yeah. And Renee mentions it. She's like, where have you been? Because their mother's Josh's mom's with her the whole time.
Yeah.
And so we're also introduced to a new character who is Elise's friend. What's his name?
Carl.
Carl,
we
that's
were
right.
introduced to him in the open.
We are a young
Because
version
he's
of
the
him.
one who calls Elise. Because he
Yes.
realizes he's in over his head.
Correct.
Yep.
So yeah, Carl he's a psychic, and what do you guys think of Carl and his dice?
I like Carl.
Yeah,
He's a likable guy.
he is a
Quiet.
likable guy.
Unassuming. What do you guys think of the
Mhm.
dice as a method for contacting the spirits?
I think it's crazy, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
It works in this movie, but like that would be so here's the thing with that, like
A case study?
well, not only that, but like he would be the quintessential kind of grifter.
Yeah.
What you would think of as a grifter. Because like with dice, like, you know, you could literally interpret anything that you want. Now it just so happens that they spell out actual words in here, but you know, he could have been like, "Oh, I see in this." You know,
Yeah.
It could be rigged or something.
Yeah.
Or
go ahead,
yeah.
Jamie.
Well, like you were gonna say, or even if it's not rigged, you can whatever the word, what if it happens to spell it? Because you know, there's a couple times he does it, nothing appears. He's like, it's not an exact science. If he were a grifter, he, like you were like if that's who he was, you're right, because then he could shake it, and when a word does appear, he's like, oh yes, this word, it means this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that the one thing I like about that aspect is that because he says that, you know, each medium per se
Has their own
way of contacting the other side. And so I like that because it differentiates himself from Elise.
And
Yeah.
he didn't put on a big like mask and all that crazy shit for the seance.
The crazy mask.
He instead is just like, I'll use these fucking dice. I don't like masks.
Yahtzee!
Yahtzee! Got a Yahtzee on this one, guys.
Also, the effect.
Good.
I just have to say real quick, the effect of the dice is so cool. I don't know how they did it. Is it CGI?
Yeah,
is it
CG?
Yeah. Rigged dice? Like it looks
CGI.
so good. I was just like,
it's CG. Well, the one it moves by itself is CGI.
CG.
The rest of it, they pour it and then when they reset, they have it spelled whatever it needs to be spelled because you don't see what it actually says when it's. I mean, that motion is what sells it, but the one where it moves by itself is 100% CGI.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
but
I like it.
No, what were you going to say, Derek?
You know, not to jump all over the place, but like I love how the dice come into play.
That's what I was going to talk about
at the end.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Oh, that's so good.
So Josh is,
deteriorating.
Parker Crane is deteriorating. Josh's body's deteriorating because his dead soul can't live in there. And by this point, they've discovered that it's Parker in there. So before we get to the dice, let's talk about the flashback scene with Parker in the hospital. What do you guys think of this bit?
I love it.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it just adds so much context to because you wonder how did the spirit know about Josh, or how are they connected? Well, it turns out that Josh's mom is a doctor, I assume.
A nurse, yeah.
Was she a nurse? Because she had a stethoscope. I thought she was a doctor, but either way, she worked
nurse, whatever she is, yeah.
Yeah, she worked at this hospital, and she worked in the ICU, and so she walks into a patient's room, and Josh is with her, and
I think she is a doctor because the nurse is telling her she's asking about the patient and everything. So I think you're right, Derek.
And Josh is just minding his own business, like, oh, this is really cool equipment. And then he looks over and fucking there's Parker looking up and it's kind of because he tried to castrate himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And we found out that he also is the reason he wanted Josh is because he wanted to relive his childhood.
Yeah.
Because his childhood was trauma and his mother made him who she made him, so he wanted to relive it. But we also know as an adult man, he murdered a bunch of people because he's a psycho as well. He's not a good guy.
Well, he's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
a good
yeah.
guy, but he was, forced
He
down
was
this path by his crazy ass mom.
created. Yeah, he was created to be a monster.
So when she goes down this elevator and she's like, I saw him one more time for the last time. And it's such a cool little bit because he doesn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And then, he walks off and she's like, what is that patient doing walking around? And they're like, he died last night. And dude, if that were me, if I were her, I'd be like, I've just experienced a real life ghost,
Yeah, for sure.
You know what this
Yeah.
made me think? This made me think. So Josh passed this down to Dalton.
Mhm.
It almost made me think like his mom has some sort of, and maybe it's just untapped and she doesn't know, but like, why did she see his ghost and nobody else did? And it's already in
Maybe.
the family.
But maybe,
Mhm.
or because
Colonel.
everybody, I don't know, everybody sees the ghosts in the house. So, like, I mean, Renee sees the ghost when it slaps the shit out of her. So
That's true.
I'm thinking that it's
Well,
less
I mean,
that.
it never shows Josh see a ghost. It never
Yeah.
shows Foster see a ghost. Right? I mean,
I guess, yeah.
There's two family members that we do not know that they have ever seen a ghost. Well, Josh sees them when he goes.
Yeah.
But he doesn't see it like in this movie, he doesn't see a ghost because it's
He is one.
Ghost.
Well,
he
he
sees
is
his
one.
mom.
Yeah.
He is one, yeah. But he doesn't see. Well, they don't see Josh anyway, so never mind. I'm just trying to figure out like the psychic kind of connections because certain people see him more. I guess I don't know.
Well, it's they haunt more people, is what it is. They just haunt.
Yeah.
Renee sees them because they haunt Renee. They're trying to scare her and get her.
Right. Yeah.
I
love the hospital ghost story though. Like that's like there are people who have stories like that.
Yeah, there are. That's like a real.
Which
that's
is
like a
so freaky.
Can you imagine?
How freaky.
Derek, you muted again, by the way.
Damn it. No, I would never go back in the
client.
hospital. I'd never go back in the hospital.
No, dude, that would be.
The nurse does tell us how he actually died, though.
He jumped out of the window.
He jumped. Yeah.
Probably because he was. I mean, he was just gone. I mean,
he was gone. Yeah, like mentally,
Yeah.
like unstable, for sure.
I mean,
he was a murderer. He was a serial killer.
He was a serial killer. Yeah.
That was never caught.
Yeah.
Was he ever caught? He must not have
No.
been.
No, he wasn't caught. But they knew that it was a man dressed as a woman. They knew that because in one of the articles that Specs reads,
the Black Bride.
Yeah, claims his 5th victim is what it said, or his 15th victim, something like that.
15, yeah. Which is so scary.
Yeah. And the fact that he puts on the bride outfit to murder people.
Yeah,
that's just
oh my gosh, it's so freaky. I think that's what's really cool about this movie too, is that twist of like from the first movie we see like this like spooky witch.
Yeah.
We don't know that it's the Black Bride. That is a man dressed as a woman who is a serial killer. Yeah. How crazy good is that? Oh my gosh. Creepy. I love it.
When Carl goes to confront Josh, he goes to basically try to sedate Parker as Josh. And he has Tucker and Specs in the van as backup. And he has like a little their little dialogue when he's like, so the code word's quesadilla. Thought we agreed on unicorn. Unicorn's too hard to bring up in a conversation. Totally disagree. How are you going to bring up quesadilla? It's quesadilla time. You hungry? You want a quesadilla? And he's like, guys, it doesn't matter. So when he's actually
how are you going to bring up unicorn?
When he's actually being like strangled, he's like, quesadilla.
Yes. Quesadilla.
Those two I would hate to ever have for backup for anything, man.
They're great, but
They
yeah,
are they're really funny. So when they bust in there, one of them gets just fucking destroyed. The other one, he kind of holds his own a little bit,
Well,
but then he
here's the
gets
thing.
stabbed with the
If
tranquilizer.
if Josh
Yeah.
didn't have the tranquilizer, Tucker would have destroyed him. He's way bigger and
Yeah.
stronger. But he gets
But he
strength,
had that
so he's out.
supernatural. He had the supernatural strength though, because he
I don't know
threw
if he
that guy
does, though.
across the room. He
Well, he
threw
kind of
Specs
just
across the room.
he kind of just hits him, but but yeah. So the bit with the dice is so good. What do you guys think?
A
Yeah.
plus.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Because Josh
it's
knows
awesome.
something's up, and it's because of his
The
mom, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's go ahead.
It's just so scary. The way he walks in, he's just like, "What? Were you playing with your dice? Mother told me you like the dice." He's like, "Oh, I haven't," because it's very interesting because it's vague. Because he could be pretending to have talked to Josh's mom.
Yeah.
He could be talking about his mother as Parker Crane, and he's playing it just he could have had something funny behind his back. Just being like, "What are you talking about?" So he has it behind his back, and he's like, what does Parker Crane, and the tension had built. And as soon as he said Parker Crane, his smile disappears.
Dude, his smile is so freaky too.
Yeah, because it's like real
like
exaggerated.
Sinister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what does Parker Crane have behind his back? And he, makes a scowl. He drops it, and then it says a knife. And he pulls it out. He's like, she always was right. It's so scary. Yeah. It's great. That's one of the best bits of the movie.
Yeah, it's great.
Tucker and Specs both scream, shit.
Yeah.
They knew.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If I were in the van and as soon as I heard, what do you have behind your back, I'd have been like, you know what, maybe we should start making our way to the house.
Yeah, let's run in there at that point. Yeah.
Because even if it's nothing, what's the harm?
Yeah, you run in there and you knock him down and you trank him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good scene.
So, what do you guys think of the whole final chase before we talk about Josh and the further? Let's talk about the final chase, the final confrontation with Parker Crane, Josh. What do you guys think of this whole bit of the movie? The whole Shining bit.
His wife comes back and the kids are there. It's good. It's very suspenseful. And the house was laid out in a way that made it like with all the little. It's great that it's an old house because some of them have like those weird little rooms with the doors that connect, and so they really played on that through this chase scene.
I really like the geography of the chase.
Yeah, it played very, very well. And then just the fact that they went down into the basement, and the doors now in houses suck. But the doors back then, those were solid wood. So he has a hard time breaking through some of these doors.
Yeah.
And adds to the suspense.
When he so there's two standout moments to this on this for me during that bit. I love when she hits him with the pot and then he throws a tea kettle and hits her.
Oh, I know.
Dang. That tea kettle. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'd pop every time. I'd pop every time. I'm like, oh god, that's a good one.
That was a solid hit. Oh my gosh.
Very solid hit. So the tea kettle
that's
bit,
the difference too. Like she was like hitting him with the pan, but she loves him and doesn't actually want to hurt him.
Yeah, he wants to kill her.
Yeah. He's like ready to murder her, so he just nails her with that.
He just goes for it. Yeah. Yeah. And then when he's on top of her strangling her, he looks so scary just by himself. And then we flash and we see the bride. Then we see the bride strangling. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Thank goodness we do too, because
it's gleeful.
And when she sees him, like she's so scared of him after that.
Well, yeah, because it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Like his makeup in that scene when they come home,
He
Oh,
looks like
yeah.
thinner.
makeup, oh, like it's just like
Yeah.
he's just deteriorating. Oh, man.
It's like thinner style. Yeah, starting to go thinner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and when he eventually wakes up, like the color is immediately back in his
Yeah,
face.
yeah. His regular color and
Yeah.
the grossness is gone. He looks full again. So let's talk about Josh in the further. What do you think of this bit? And what standout moments do you have? Because I love when I'm sorry. I was gonna say
No, go ahead.
I love the bit that I've always stood out to me in this movie that I always think about is when Carl's like there's somebody in front of you. And he's
Yes,
like
that's what I was
he's
gonna
saying
say.
he's got your baby. And that creepy guy going, he's got your baby, he's got your baby, he's got your baby. You know, it's just like
Yeah. That I remember, I think that was actually in the preview, like the trailer for this movie, and I remember being like, that is horrifying.
that is it's such like this creepy old dude with no shirt on just being like right here at your face. I got your
Right
baby,
in
got
your
your baby.
face.
And then
Yeah.
he's like,
And
what's
he
he
couldn't
doing
see
now?
him.
He's pointing and he's just like,
Yeah.
and so this
Mhm.
thing was trying to warn him.
Yeah.
But it's so creepy.
We were speculating on that too, on like how, like, why was Josh not able to see him and Carl was? Is it
That is
because he
very-
was psychic?
I think it's because he's psychic. Yeah, it has to be. It
Has
has
to
to be
be.
because he's psychic. Yeah. So
We were like,
we don't have
that makes weird sense of
we don't have the funhouse effect in this one where they go in and we see like the creepy like
Mhm.
family, all that stuff. Instead, what we get is this great timey-wimey bullshit, which I love. So we find out that during the first Insidious, Josh was haunting them a lot of the time.
Yeah, a couple
Mhm.
times. Yeah.
Uh-huh. The
love it. I
the
love it.
whole dude, the bit where he where the door opens in the first movie, and we get to see that creepy ass demon one more time.
Mm.
That walks in, back and forth. But when he looks in the window and he looks up at him and smiles, ugh, so creepy. So Josh bangs that door open, and then now we know, oh, okay, so that's why the door kicked open at night and all that stuff. I love that they went back and played that off. And then we find out, because then he finds Elise. Elise comes and saves him from the demon. And it's great just to see her, right? I mean,
It
great to
was.
see her.
Yeah, it's like a moment too. It's so
So
cheesy.
Yeah. And
Yes,
she said
yeah.
she came back because she heard them calling for her.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
she was passed on. She was in
She
the
was-
other.
She's
That
in the
kinda-
good place.
Yeah, that kind of doesn't make sense. So, and the reason why I say that is when Tucker and Specs are at Elisa's house and they go down to her like reading room,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? They go in. It's kind of like either a coincidence
It's not
or
her.
somebody's leading them.
It's
in there.
It's Parker's mom.
Yeah, it's the mom.
You think?
She's the one that led them
Well, yeah,
to,
she led them to
the house.
all of it. Remember, she led them
Well,
to the
the-
house. Yeah,
Well, not just the
That's-
house, but like she led them to Josh's younger video.
she did lead him to. No, I think they just coincidentally found the video,
You think
or
so?
yeah, because it's not Elise, because Elise wasn't back yet, or she could
That's
have.
what I'm saying.
She could have.
I thought it was her doing that.
Yeah.
But you don't get to the end later when she's like, I came back because you were calling me. But at the beginning, I thought that
But
she was the
also-
one that was leading them in there because they don't know. Like they're the ones who originally find out that old Josh was communicating with young Josh.
Yeah,
which we get more
but-
context here.
But the thing is, I don't know if that was meant to be found or if it just they were like she was being haunted. Who knows? Because it could be Elise from wherever the other place is, the heaven or
Mhm.
whatever. But she doesn't come back down to the further
Until she's
until
called.
yeah, because she doesn't have to be
No, you're
in
right.
the She doesn't have to
Yeah.
be in the further to
Right.
communicate with them.
Yeah.
Right, because at the end
Mhm.
it shows her
She's with them.
working
Yeah.
with them again
With them. Yeah.
in like spirit form. And she's definitely
Yeah.
not in the further still, like torturing
Yeah.
herself that way.
Yeah. So
Yeah. There you go.
So I think that that had to have been her trying to help them along the way, but she pulls back into the further to save Josh.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because that's why she says, I've seen that better place, but I heard you calling, so I had to come back.
Yeah, and it makes sense that they are two different places, and she could spend time in one and not the other. I do like that aspect, though, that like Tucker's just kind of like looking at this video because they found it, and it's of Josh in like 1987 or whatever the date was.
1986, yeah.
1986, and he's like, "What is that?" And he digitizes it.
Yeah.
And then he messes with the footage and realizes it like, oh my God, that's adult Josh. What's going on? Because why is he there when he's over there?
There's a great bit
Good.
where at that part where he's watching the video and he says, look at this framing. Amateur framing.
Yeah, I got that. Amateurs. No.
So funny.
Yeah, they have a lot of really good I love when Tucker, this is after he wakes up from being sedated, busts through that, that wall, and he's like, come on.
So, after Elise saves Josh and they go back, he said, well, she says, maybe I'm asking the wrong Josh. And we get context for the opening scene. Is very cool. Yeah. I remember sitting in the theater because I had figured out, well, he's talking to himself. But I didn't see it play out. I was like, there's no way they're going to do that. And then they did. And I was like, oh my God, they did it. It's such a great bit because the way it just plays out. And then Elise saying, so that's what all that was about. Huh.
Oh my God. That line kills me.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay.
That is the cheesiest line in the whole movie.
It's so funny. I love it.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God. Every time I see it, I cringe at that line.
So she
it is good though. I love the timey-wimey. Yeah,
it's good stuff. So what I really like is they go to find Josh tells them where they live, so she goes to destroy the memories. They go to destroy the memories. And that's when they have their final confrontation with the mom. And we get that bit where we talked about earlier where she points and pulls him out. When she's strangling Josh up against the wall, she's really peak creepy at that point.
Yeah, she is.
Mm-hmm.
Super scary. And Elise has a conversation with young Parker and says, hey, I can free you. Help me. So he lets her in and she smashes freaking the mom over and over with the freaking horses.
Rocking horse.
With the rocking horse, yeah.
Yeah.
And then breaks it, and then it breaks the spell. And he's out. But what's super cool is I love the fact that Dalton goes into the further to pull them out. Basically doing what Josh did in the previous movie. But they went all poltergeist on it, and he has the cans.
The tether.
So, the tether that pulls him back to the...
Yeah, no, I loved that. That was such a great little bit to throw in there, like Hansel and Gretel.
Mm-hmm.
He's got it right back, yeah.
It's Poltergeist,
I don't remember that it's been a long time since I've seen Poltergeist.
It's wrapped around the waist. Yeah. That's the...
So rope. I loved that. Although I love the play on these freaking cans, man.
Dude,
throughout the movie.
Let's talk about the scene in the closet with the cans.
In the closet?
Ooh,
yeah.
Let's not.
That's
which, by
really
the way,
good.
She turns out to be a victim of Parker's.
Mm-hmm. Because, and she's like, it just...
They all are.
Yeah, and she's like trying to... It's so creepy. She's doing the whispering. Yeah. And then she's like, help me.
What's the other brother's name?
Foster.
Foster,
yeah.
Because he was like, stop it, Foster. I'm not Foster.
Yeah.
Oh my God. At that point, I just stopped talking. I'd be like,
dude,
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's what Jake was saying too. That was his frustration. Is like, why is he not like screaming at his brother to wake him up?
Well,
Like,
yeah, when he's like, Foster, because he doesn't want to wake up his parents is why.
Well,
So-
at this point, he's also
Foster.
dreaming.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He is
Traveling. Yeah.
traveling because he
Traveling,
looks
yeah.
down and he sees himself in his body, and then he's like, they lunge for him. Man,
Yeah.
that would be like the worst superpower to have. Because
Or the
all the
best
dead
if you
people.
figured out how to use it.
I mean, yeah, you got to figure out a way to protect your body and not like lose
Yeah.
yourself. Which is the tethered piece is now probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's in the sequel that they're making.
He is. Remember, that's the plot. The plot is about Josh and Dalton there's something to do with the further. Yeah.
In the
it's
new one that's
Mhm.
coming up. Okay,
Mhm.
I don't know. Have you read a synopsis?
Yeah, we talked about it. We don't have a
I remember
synopsis
talking
yet.
about it.
We just know that it involves adult Josh or adult Dalton, older Dalton, because he's 10 years older at this point, so he's almost probably 20.
Yeah, 22. I think
Yep.
he's 12.
oh my gosh.
So
I know we're all old, Lydia.
yeah.
We're all old.
So we find out that Carl is not dead. So this is one of those rare horror movies that we do where there's a zero body count of people that we see on screen. There's a lot of dead people that have died previous,
Yeah,
but nobody dies, at least died in the previous movie.
On screen.
So
it's true.
yep,
It's
there's none of our characters die in this movie. Because
Elise doesn't even die on screen.
no, she died in the previous movie.
Yeah,
So-
but not on screen.
Yeah, not on screen. Yeah. So, yeah, no deaths in this one.
Yeah. This is
Carl
kinda jumping.
lives.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad Carl lives, and she's
Yeah.
like, I felt a heartbeat whenever I touched you earlier.
Yeah.
You can still go back.
Yeah, well, I like that Carl lives too because it lets
too.
him basically make them forget their powers again, so that way they're
safe.
safe. Yeah, so it closes that bridge again.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
So it's a subtlety. I love going back to her previous the Insidious one, right, where she is a musician and she's a songwriter.
Mhm.
And I love that, like, every time that you hear the piano play,
Mhm.
you assume something sinister, like they're trying to lure her in there for a reason and all this stuff. And then it comes back. That's a song that she wrote for Josh.
Yeah.
And it took her a minute to like figure out what it was. Like, she's like, I know this tune. And she like started playing it, and, corrupt Josh is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard this before, and all this stuff. And at the very end of the movie, first off, I'd have so many trust issues.
Dude,
if I
let's
were
talk
her.
about this because it's actually really well done. Because when Josh comes back, she looks in his eyes and she recognizes him. Almost immediately, she recognizes him. But she has been through so much that she's still not ready to believe it. Because she says earlier in the movie, when I looked in his eyes for the first time in 12 years, I didn't recognize him. So at this point, she actually recognizes him. But she's still so scared, and rightfully so, stands back, and she's crying and everything. It's such a great performance, but
I love her line here though, when he was like, you wrote that song for me, and she was like, only you could butcher that song so poorly.
Yeah, only you could play it so bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a very small little piece, but it was very cute.
That's
Yeah.
such a brutal joke to make.
Yeah.
No, it's
That
totally
would be
true,
me.
because
That's my
like
humor. Only
I
you
am
can play that bad.
tone deaf.
That's the
like
first thing you're gonna
nobody's
say?
business.
Well, it took her a minute because she's literally like
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be like, you know what? I don't even know. I just want out of this marriage.
Well, you divorce people if they fucking painted the nun, so you're not one to talk about marriage strings.
I'd be like, you know what? You can have Dalton. I'll take the other two, and we'll call it even.
Jake was asking me, he was like, did you guys talk about how bad of parents these two are? And I was like, no, what do you mean? And he was like, because like the son was making pictures of like demons and him like flying away in his sleep in the first movie. And they didn't even notice, and they moved and brought those pictures with them and still didn't notice.
No, so here's the thing. I can totally sympathize with why they wouldn't believe that, because I'm telling you, man, when Clark gets older and he starts drawing pictures, he's going to draw all of the bad guys. He has a connection to the bad guys in movies. He doesn't want to be the good guys. In Spider-Man, he wanted to be Rhino. I don't know why.
Which is the worst villain you could possibly be. Rhino sucks ass.
Yeah, exactly. I say that. He's so obscure, but he watched the entire 1969 version of Scooby-Doo. No, for Halloween, he doesn't want to be Shaggy. He doesn't want to be Scooby. He wants to be the Black Knight from the very first episode. And my wife's like, how am I going to make that suit? I don't know. It's hilarious. But anyway, so I get it. I sympathize.
He also likes to growl. He growls randomly.
He does like to growl. I'm going to put a video of him in an awesome Halloween mask growling at me.
Oh, yeah, from today. Yeah.
Yep, right here.
Terrifying. Oh my goodness. So yeah, the ending. What do you guys think of this ending? What do you guys think of the ending of the movie? Before we get to the very ending, what do you think of the ending of the Lambert story so far?
It's good.
It is good. It's sad that they don't get to keep, for lack of a better word, this power that they have. That really the only answer they have is to suppress it. It's very interesting, but it also is going to give them some closure. We'll see how that
plays out. Yeah,
the test of time, but
right.
It gives them some closure, and I'm sure it's got to be a relief for his wife.
Yeah, Renee's been through it.
This is going to be over. Yeah, because prior to Dalton having these issues, she didn't know that Josh had this past.
None of them.
So they had lived this blissful life for 12 years. So
yeah, Josh didn't even know. So let's talk about the very end of this movie. Because in the very end of this movie, we have Tucker and Specs visiting a family, and they're asking about their daughter. And the youngest daughter is psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees Elise, and she says, "Oh, who's the woman behind you?" And they're like, "What? What are you talking about?" And it's Elise that has been following the boys around to make sure they're safe and to help them with these problems. And she talks to the little girl, or tries to talk to the teenage daughter, and we get bits of information like that when your daughter was brought back by a when your daughter was resuscitated in the hospital, the spirit attached to her, it wasn't an accident, blah, blah, blah. We just get those little bits. And then Elise looks up at something and gasps, and then we end. What is she gasping at? Do we ever find out? Because I know the next movie is a prequel.
Right. No, we
then the
don't
fourth
find
one is a
out,
prequel
but it's it sounds like
the lipstick demon?
Lipstick face.
It does sound like lipstick face demon, yeah.
Because of the creaking claw sound, you know?
But we never get closure to the story, do we?
No. We've never seen that story.
James,
that's weird, right? No, it's Lee Winnell after this. Lee Winnell directs the next one. Then he wrote, I think, the last key, and somebody else directed it. So it's just like we get Elise's story, because basically it shifted focus to Elise's story in the next two sequels or prequels, aren't they? They're both prequels. When Elise is alive,
Mm-hmm.
about her unlocking her powers, essentially. And then we never get the answer to this. I know the lipstick face demon appears in, I think, The Last Key, like behind her at one point, at the end or something. But we never get a proper face off with Elise and the lipstick demon. So that's a really cool. I think that's a good tease and a setup because you're like, wonder what happens next. But it's really weird that we never get a payoff for it. Still,
It is. Well, and especially since they had already established that the first one led into the second one. Naturally, I think you could assume that the second one's going to lead into the third one. But then, it's been a while since I've seen the third one. I think I have seen it, but so that is strange.
Yeah, the third one's really good. That's the one with a good old creepy old man.
I love the third one.
Yeah, it's a really good one. But it doesn't tell this story.
No, no, it doesn't.
So,
which is weird because the girl is in a wheelchair.
And bits of it match up, but the family's completely different. Like the story's completely different, but there's details, you know what I mean, that kind of match up.
Oh yeah, because the little girl was hit by a car or something like that, and the third
not
one?
A little girl, but
she was a teen.
Teen, yeah.
Yeah, and then she was brought back, and she hears the noises upstairs.
She has the dude with the breath mask.
Yeah,
really creepy. Well, we'll get to that one. That's a good one. So the ending's solid for this. It's just now it bums me out that we just still don't have a solid conclusion to that story. We'll get it one day, probably. And that, hopefully, guys, is Insidious 2.
Dalton's like in his 20s now, so Elise is like in her 80s.
I just looked it up. She is 78 years old. She is currently 78 years old. Yikes. She's up there.
Yeah, it's really rude. But yeah, it's going to be hard for us to get a sequel from Insidious 2.
Yeah.
When she is 80.
I'm sure she's going to make an appearance in this.
I mean, at this point, they could probably just cast young Elise to be old Elise.
Oh, that would be cool.
That was a joke. She was not that old. She was.
But it's timey-wimey.
Probably.
It's timey-wimey.
Yeah, I mean, she could do it. I mean, you could also de-age people these days as well.
They could CGI her whole
her whole body. I don't know if they have that much money to make a new Insidious movie.
I think just cast the other girl, cast the young girl. Why not?
I'd say just cast Lynn Shay, let her just do her thing. Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It doesn't. No, it definitely doesn't. Like, they could definitely cast. I'm just saying, if she didn't want to do it.
If she didn't want... We need to
retire.
We need to at least be like... Yeah, most actors don't retire. They just do it until they don't do it anymore.
Like, why not? Why not?
Yep. So that's Insidious 2. What are your guys' thoughts? Let's start with you, Derek. What are your thoughts on Insidious 2, and what are you going to rate it?
So I did find a lot of the aspects of this movie a little more creepy. Like some of it not so much. But so here's the things I loved. I loved all of the context to the black dressed the black bride or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
The backstory to that, the mom aspect. Man, when they find those dead bodies, like, nah, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with this anymore.
That's most people's reaction, yeah.
Yep, call the police, let them handle it. Josh, nice knowing you.
But that's your son, man. That's your son. If you're proper.
If it were my son, I obviously it would go to the ends of the earth. But I love the tie into the original movie. I love the play with time itself and how it ties back to the early part of this movie. It was a great story. It really is one big story. The first two, I love when that works out. I think this is, I would say that this is on par with the first one. I liked it as much, and where maybe it lacked in like the actual scares, it had really great drama in it and intense scenes, and like the thing with the dice and that whole conversation between Josh and the other guy. That was really great. So I really enjoyed this. I think I gave the last one an 8.5.
Yep.
I think I'm going to go 8.5 with this one too.
Lydia, what do you think?
I think I'm gonna give this one a 9.5. I gave the last one a 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I like the first one more. And that's the only reason. I almost want to give this one a 10, but I don't know. I just feel like I should give it a little bit less. I have no good reasoning at all.
I'm with you. I know exactly. I mean, I gave the last one an 8.5. I'm going to give this one an 8. I like it. I do like it, but I think that it's not as good as the first one.
It's not
I think
scary.
the first one's scarier, and honestly, the first one is also more visually interesting. I think that the shots in the first one are better. I think the camera moves in the first one are better. I think it's just because it's like pure passion. You know, they're like, this is our last chance to make one of these. Let's do it. And they put everything into it and it just worked perfectly. This one's very solid. It's a very worthy follow-up. It's good. I like the resolution to the characters. I like that we leave our characters happy in a good place. I like that we get Elise as a hero moving forward. But I think that just, like you said, Derek, the things I liked were those same aspects that you liked. The woman in black, the bride in black, the mother. I liked the Carl and the dice. I liked some of the suspense scenes. But I just feel like it lacks the scares that the other one had. Because when I think about this one, the best scene to me is more suspenseful, which is the dice scene. When I think about the scariest moment of the first one, there's a lot, but there's lipstick face demon jump scare. There is the little boy running through. There's a demon walking back and forth. It's just, I think, a more terrifying movie than this one. But I like it. It's good.
Yeah.
I'll give it an 8.
And like the other reason I gave mine a little bit less is because like I rate mine based on like how I would recommend them to people, and I would recommend you watch the first one first.
Well, yeah, you definitely should do that. All right, guys. So that is Insidious 2. So now we have 2 going on 3 more of these to knock out eventually. And I would suggest doing Insidious 3 this week, but unfortunately for you, Derek, we can't do that because next week, for this next episode, we are going to do Rob Zombie's The Monsters. Derek, how excited are you for this?
You say like it's going to be torture for just me. It's going to be torture for all of us.
I think I have high hopes. I think
I'm
it's going to
glad
be
you
fun.
have high hopes. Can't wait for him to dash him.
What do you think, Lydia?
Man.
What are your predictions? What are your Monsters predictions?
Right now in this moment, I feel nervous. I feel real nervous about it. I feel like we just watched 2 really good movies. Had a lot of fun talking about those, and now we have to watch this movie. Oh my gosh.
We owe it to our faithful followers.
We do. We've been talking about this movie since we started podcasting.
Yeah, we followed it from inception to now release. So
through all the Instagram photos and the Twitter photos and whatnot.
To inappropriate jokes by Derek, we followed all of it.
We've been here. We've
All
been
right,
waiting.
Here's my early prediction. I predict that this movie is going to be so bad that even on a normal day, I wouldn't recommend it on this
Oh,
podcast. And I've recommended some doozies.
yeah.
Yes,
Children
you
of the
have.
Night,
Rawhead Rex.
Rawhead Rex, Popcorn.
Hey,
Ooh,
popcorn's good. I don't know
popcorn.
what you're talking about. You leave that one alone.
Popcorn's not bad, but I think the version we had to watch made it even worse.
I agree. The YouTube like 480.
That was
P.
awful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Now it's on a bunch of streaming sites. It's on Shudder currently. So I might give
Is
it another
it?
watch. Yeah.
Mm.
But it's on Shudder currently, and I'm like, of course it is now. Of course it is.
Popcorn?
Yeah, Popcorn's on there.
It's on
Just do it.
Shudder.
Just do it, Lydia. Just give it a watch.
I don't think I'll ever give that movie another watch.
It's definitely not the worst. I think
I would rather watch Children of the Night.
I think Children of the Night is one of the worst that we did, and
I agree.
Rawhead Rex is not the best either.
You know, Rawhead Rex is a really good movie if you're a teenage. No, not a teenager. Let me back that.
No.
If you're a young adult and you have access to beer.
Thank
Well,
you for
it was following up with the beer part. I was like, no, you don't want to encourage drinking at a young age.
no.
I
If
think-
you're,
Or
like,
you
in
don't
your
want to
early
encourage
20s
watching Rawhead Rex at any age.
and
I
you're
think that
partially
movie
drunk.
that movie is only good for people who are living in that time period. And they
For
are also
nostalgia.
20 and drunk and high, maybe. Like, you have to be on something.
Or really into
Missing.
guar.
Yeah, or
Music.
really
Yeah.
really into golden showers. Hey, maybe the former president was a fan of this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I will say the one part I did not remember until we rewatched it was the golden shower scene, and I was like, "What the?"
Yeah, that's
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like,
Me
I was
neither.
I
like,
couldn't
that
either. I
can't be
was
what's
like,
going on.
"What
That
just
can't
happened?"
be what's going on.
He's like,
baptizing him in his
baptize
own
me,
urine. In his
baptize
urine.
me.
He's
getting
like,
pissed
"I
on.
pee on you, preacher."
The version I watched was worse than I think the version you guys watched. Is that accurate?
Yeah, yeah, that is accurate.
Did we all watch it from the same platform?
No, she watched it from a different one. You and I watched it on Tubi, I think.
Mm.
Mine was super
She-
blurry.
Yeah,
I could not see that guy was
Yeah.
getting peed on.
Yeah.
I was like, it kind of
Probably
looks
for
like
the
that guy's
best.
getting peed on.
Avert your
Probably
eyes.
not, though.
Yeah, probably for the best.
I mean, if that was a girl peeing on a guy, I probably would have like vomited, but I can handle a beast peeing on a preacher.
Derek doesn't even like to know that women pee.
I know it's a bodily function. They have to do it. It's whatever.
So, Derek, do you have a story time for tonight?
Man, I never thought of one. Did I already talk about the one where Jay got hit by a car?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a good one. Talked about when we were young and he like tried to super kick over a girl's head and
Yep.
brought
got
down
that
the
one.
house.
Yep.
Wait, didn't you say that you had a story about ghost hunting or something? Oh no, wait, you told that one. Didn't
We
you?
told that one.
I just remembered it.
Man. I got a funny. It's not funny if you're the lady that. So, man, we lived on Grant Street. So you know where Village Pantry is in
Mhm.
Peru?
Mhm.
So if you go like down 3 blocks, there's Grant Street. So whatever this road is, it's where a like breakaway bike shop used to be. Anyway, so there's an intersection there.
Listeners have no idea what any of this means.
No, but anyway,
anyway.
so we lived on like the intersection of a fairly busy road.
Mhm.
Okay. And my brother, oh my God, dude, he like was chasing me for some reason. He took my shoe off and he just chucked it. And he chucked it out in the middle of the street. And it hit this lady's car, her windshield.
Just driving by?
Yeah. So she slams on her brakes and gets out of the car and she's like, oh my God. She's like freaking out. She thought she hit a child. Because all she saw was this shoe that hit her window. This little kid's shoe.
She watched Pet Sematary too many times.
I guess, man, but she was like freaking out. Like my stepdad at the time like came out and he was like, "What the heck's going on?" And I'm like on the ground where my brother had taken my shoe off. Luckily, he knew this lady because he like calmed her down and like we told her what happened. But yeah, he definitely thought he made this lady think that she hit a kid. I can't even imagine what that would feel like. I'd want to like beat that other kid to death.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a short one. That's the only one I can think of right now.
Well, I have one that you should tell.
What's that?
You should talk about your Halloween costume with Joey.
But that doesn't involve Jay.
I know, but you should totally tell it.
No one wants to hear it if it doesn't have him in it.
No, you got to tell it. It's a
good one. Oh gosh, that's not even that exciting.
Okay, if you don't want to tell it,
I'll tell. I mean, let's see if I can put it together. Joey was over at my house, and we're like trying to figure out costumes to go trick or treating. I'm like 13, yeah, about 13, and so like I'm like, hey, one time I got this like shoe goo is actually what it was called. I got shoe goo on my hands, and I'm like, man, this is so like, the way it flaked off. I was like, this is so cool. It actually kind of looks like I got burns on my hands. So like as we were trying to scramble to come up with a Halloween costume, I'm like, got it. I'm gonna put that stuff on my face, and I'll look like a burn victim. That is not how that turned out. Turns out the pores of your face are far more sensitive than your hands. So like I'm putting this glue all over my face and it's starting to burn and I'm like, why is it burning? So then I'm like trying to get it off and it's really high intense glue. And so I'm like trying to get it off, it won't come off. So brilliant idea. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna shave it off. I have a razor and I'm like trying to get this off and I mean my face is bleeding. I'm like trying to get this off and Joey's just like losing it. Anyway, this is a great example of do not put glue on your face because
shoe goo especially.
It can cause chemical burn.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So what happened when you went to school the next day, Derek?
Nothing. I don't remember that part.
How'd your face look?
I mean, it looked like it was pretty messed up. It was red.
Did it have the
and like little scabby from where I was like trying to shave that stuff off.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't great, man. It was not great. I would not recommend it.
No,
for shoes, it does wonders, but not for your face.
Oh my gosh. I actually did a similar thing when I was really young.
Oh, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Me and my cousin, were like, let's play like. I was always trying to be like spooky ghost. Like, let's play. Like, I wanted to be the spooky character, you know. So I was like, we don't have any black makeup. We're like little children. All we have is like pink and sparkles. So we got into her mom's fingernail polish and I put black fingernail polish around my eyes.
Oh no.
Boy.
And it would not come off.
No.
I can't remember if it was on her eyes too. But we messed up big time that night because it was like we had to get that off without telling anyone, you know? Like we're like, we can't tell them that we put fingernail polish on her eyes.
How old were you?
Oh, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7. I want to say like, I don't know. I'm not good with ages. Probably around 6.
You know, not as old as a teenager, but
no, not a teenager.
Whatever. It's a statistical fact that men mature slower than women, so
and it's true.
It's fine.
No, it was. I mean, that's why I matured quickly because I was like, well, I did that at a young age, and I'm
never gonna do it again.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I learned from my mistakes.
That was a lot.
Did that again.
You did not. You did not. That's true.
Yeah.
I never did that, but I do remember I didn't like do anything that crazy like that, but I do remember cutting my hair when I was little.
Yeah.
And then I had like a big patch out of it and, had to go get my hair cut. Jacob, I remember he did that too. He and Cody cut each other's hair.
Oh,
That's a pretty normal kid thing, I
Yeah.
think. A lot of people
Glorious.
have that kind of story.
Why
Don't leave your kids alone
do
with
our
scissors.
parents have scissors? Yeah, why do we have
Oh,
scissors?
man.
Or nail polish or shoe goo.
But-
lock your stuff up.
And for Derek was a 13.
Yeah.
Still.
13-year-olds are known for mischief. I've got a
Yeah.
really good story about Clark and some scissors. So, like, one day, Clark is just like fiddling around in our bathroom, and we hear a drawer open, and my wife, sometimes she overreacts, and so we jump up and we go in there to see what's going on. He had opened up her drawer and had a pair of scissors out, and he was like about to cut the cat's hair.
Oh my God.
Right. And so my wife grabs the scissors. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Clark, do you want to be the only one in kindergarten with 9 fingers?" I mean, it was so spontaneous. I started laughing, and man, my wife was not having it. She was like, "This is not funny." I was like, "You know what? It wasn't funny until I said that, and I got a good kick out of it."
Now
Anyway.
I'm enjoying myself.
Yep, I started laughing, and he probably didn't take me seriously because I was laughing so hard.
Hey, sometimes it happens.
Mm.
So, Derek, think of one for next week involving the fairy dragon. You probably should have told.
I probably should have
Yeah.
definitely told
You know what?
that story.
How about you just tell that and we'll cut out the other ones?
Why would we not just leave them all in there?
We'll
yeah,
leave 'em
just
all.
leave them in.
You know what?
Okay.
We'll save that one for next time. That way you
Yeah, I
don't
was
have to
gonna
think about
say
it.
this is
Okay.
this is our Insidious episode. Tune in next time, and we will talk about
The
the
origins.
fairy dragon of death.
The origins
Now
of the
you're
fairy dragon.
intrigued.
Yes, now we've got you. And that's our episode, guys. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment down below on which movies you'd like to see us do next. What is your favorite Insidious movie? And let us know what stories, if you would like to hear Derek tell any more crazy stories. You can follow us online at HiLaProductions.com, where we have all of our merch. You can follow us on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. Follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. And you can follow us all on Twitter. You can follow Derek at DDoglyMaster. You can follow Lydia at Lydia is Spooky. And you can follow me at Racket. Tune in next week when we will be watching Rob Zombie's 2022 revamp of The Munsters. Derek, are you ready for it, buddy? You're muted before you start to try to talk.
I knew that. I was testing you. You know what? I'm as ready as I'll ever be. Let's get this shit over with.
Lydia, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's end the Munsters saga with a bang next week. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Tell all your friends. Let's keep the channel growing.
I'm going to blank that part out. That was terrible.
What are you talking about?
Nothing.
I was on a roll about to end us, and then you just started talking.
Start your part over, Jamie.
Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tell us. God, I forgot. Let me try one more time.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. Tune in next week when we find out the fate of the Munsters. Are you ready, Derek?
Yeah.
Lydia, how you feeling? Good?
Yeah.
Tune in next week and we will end the monster saga, finally. For Scream Bloody Movies, God damn it, you messed me all up, Derek. What did you do? I was going so good.
I'm gonna pee my pants. Don't do it.
I was about to freaking wrap up, and you just out of nowhere, you're like, I should have blanked that part out. I'm like, what are you talking about?
He didn't see what you did, Derek.
No, what did you tell was on the roll? I was talking to the camera. And then he's like, I'm gonna black that part out.
He did like a suicide, talking about the monsters. So he was like, he immediately felt bad and was like, I shouldn't have done that.
I was on the roll. I was about to wrap it up, and then I just hearing, I should blank that out from that's what happened from my perspective. I was so confused. Oh. All right. Let's try to wrap this up again. Be sure to tune in next week when we end the Munster saga in style. For Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I am Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies. Good night, guys.